The forgotten outpost, the last transport, the heavy transport ship, corporate. Dawn pulled away from Titan IX research station with the finality of a closing coffin lid. Dr. Maya Rodriguez pressed her palm against the observation deck's cold metal window, watching Earth's most powerful corporation abandon what they had deemed a failed investment. The blue flames of the ship's engines grew smaller until they vanished completely into the star-filled darkness, leaving behind only silence, and 15 souls who had chosen exile over return. Behind her, the remaining crew gathered in the station's main corridor. These weren't the desperate outcasts of fairy tales, but accomplished professionals who had seen something worth preserving in this remote research facility orbiting the gas giant Kronos. Each had their reasons for staying, but all shared a common belief that Titan IX represented something more valuable than quarterly profit margins. The chosen few commander, Alex Torres, a decorated veteran who had served in 3 border conflicts, stood with military bearing despite wearing civilian clothes. His dark eyes surveyed the group with the calculating gaze of someone who had led troops through impossible situations. Beside him, Dr. Kim Nakamura adjusted her thick-rimmed glasses, her mind already racing through the biological systems that would need immediate attention, now that corporate support had vanished. Carlos Mendez, the station's chief engineer, cracked his weathered knuckles as he mentally catalogued every system, every backup, every potential point of failure in their isolated home. His 43 years had been spent making impossible machinery work in impossible places, and Titan IX would be his greatest challenge yet. Dr. Zahra Hassan, barely 30, but already recognized as one of the solar system's leading quantum physicists, clutched a tablet containing communications protocols that would keep them connected to the outside universe. Her hijab framed a determined face that had convinced 3 universities to offer her department chairs, all of which she had refused to stay here. The others represented a cross-section of human expertise: botanists, medical staff, technicians, and researchers who had found in this remote station something that Earth's overcrowded research facilities could never offer: freedom to pursue knowledge without corporate interference. Building Paradise Maya had expected the first months to be about survival. Instead, they became about transformation, without corporate oversight demanding immediate results and cost-cutting measures. The crew began implementing solutions that actually worked rather than ones that looked good on quarterly reports. Torres restructured their security and emergency protocols, turning the station into a fortress that could withstand anything the hostile environment of Kronos could throw at them. The gas giant's radiation storms, which had been a constant threat under corporate management, became predictable and manageable under his systematic approach. Nakamura revolutionized their life support systems, creating closed-loop biological cycles that didn't just sustain life, but enhanced it. Her innovative atmospheric processes turned the station's air into something cleaner and more oxygen-rich than most Earth cities could boast. The hydroponic gardens she designed produced food so nutritious and flavorful that even the most skeptical crew members became converts. Mendez worked miracles with the station's infrastructure. Corporate cost-cutting had left Titan IX with failing systems held together by temporary fixes and desperate prayers. Within 6 months, he had redesigned the power grid, the water recycling systems, and the artificial gravity generators. The station hummed with the efficiency of a precision instrument rather than groaning like a dying machine. Hassan's communications array became legendary among the outer system research stations. Her quantum entanglement network allowed instantaneous communication across impossible distances, turning Titan IX into a hub for collaborative research that spanned multiple star systems. Scientists from Mars to the Jovian moons began requesting access to her network, offering resources and knowledge in exchange. The discovery it was during the expansion of the station's lower levels that they found it. Mendez had been carving out new laboratory space in the asteroid that housed Titan IX's foundation when his mining laser struck something that shouldn't have existed. Instead of cutting through rock, the beam simply stopped, absorbed by a surface that reflected no light, yet somehow seemed to glow with inner luminescence. Maya was the first to see the chamber they had uncovered. Her xenarchaeology training had prepared her for many discoveries, but nothing like this. The room stretched beyond the reach of their lights, its walls covered in symbols that seemed to shift and flow when viewed directly. At the chamber's center, a crystalline structure rose from the floor like a frozen tree, its branches reaching toward a ceiling lost in shadow. "How old?" Torres asked, his voice hushed by the weight of discovery. Maya ran her scanner along the nearest wall, then checked the readings twice before trusting them. Preliminary dating suggests 200,000 years, maybe older. The implications hit them all simultaneously. Titan IX wasn't just a research station built on a convenient asteroid. It was constructed on top of an artifact that predated human civilization by an incomprehensible margin. Whatever race had built this chamber had been creating wonders, while humanity's ancestors were still learning to control fire. Strange phenomena. The discovery changed everything about their small community, not just because of the archaeological significance, but because the chamber seemed to be responding to their presence. The symbols on the walls grew brighter each day, and the crystalline structure began to emit a low harmonic frequency that seemed to resonate in their bones. Nakamura's biological sensors detected energy patterns that defied conventional physics. Plants in her hydroponic gardens began growing at unprecedented rates, their cellular structures somehow optimized beyond anything selective breeding had achieved. The crew members themselves reported increased clarity of thought, enhanced problem-solving abilities, and a sense of well-being that went beyond simple contentment. Hassan's quantum experiments yielded results that revolutionized her understanding of space-time manipulation. The ancient chambers seemed to be teaching them, sharing knowledge through some mechanism that bypassed language entirely. Her communication array's range expanded exponentially, reaching frequencies and dimensions that human science had never imagined possible. But with knowledge came responsibility, and Maya understood that they had stumbled upon something that would change the course of human development. The chamber wasn't just a relic, it was a gift, a tool left behind by beings who had transcended physical existence. Millions of years before the first human had looked up at the stars. The price of paradise, their success, couldn't remain hidden. Forever, independent traders brought word of Titan IX's transformation to the inner system, where corporate executives had begun to take notice of the station they had written off as a total loss. Energy readings, communication signals, and most damning of all, requisition records showing that the abandoned facility was not only surviving but thriving. Maya stood in the ancient chamber, her hand resting on the crystalline structure that had become the heart of their community. Through some mechanism she didn't fully understand, she could sense the entity that dwelt within, ancient and patient, waiting for humanity to prove itself worthy of the knowledge it offered. Asterisk, the chamber, had shown them glimpses of what was possible. Technologies that could revolutionize space travel, energy production, and human enhancement. Medical techniques that could extend life indefinitely while maintaining perfect health. Agricultural methods that could turn any world into a garden, paradise, but it had also shown them the danger. Other races had found similar chambers, had taken the knowledge and used it for conquest and domination. The entity within had watched civilizations rise and fall, had seen the same pattern repeat across the galaxy. Knowledge without wisdom, power without compassion, technology without humanity. The test begins Torres approached with a grim expression that Maya had learned to recognize. His security network had detected multiple ships on approach vectors, their configurations unmistakably corporate military. Earth's elite had finally decided that Titan IX was worth reclaiming, and they were coming with overwhelming force. How long? Maya asked. 3 days, maybe 4 if they maintain standard approach protocols, Torres replied. Maya, they're not coming to negotiate. The fleet composition suggests they plan to take the station by force and sort out the legal issues afterward. Maya nodded, her mind already racing through possibilities. The ancient entity had been preparing them for this moment, she realized. Every enhancement to their systems, every improvement to their capabilities, every insight into technologies beyond human understanding had been building toward this confrontation. Asterisk. The crew gathered in the chamber that had become their sanctuary. 15 humans surrounded by the accumulated wisdom of a race that had transcended physical existence eons before Earth had formed. The crystalline structure pulsed with gentle light, and Maya felt the entity's presence like a warm hand on her shoulder. They had built paradise from abandonment, had turned a corporate failure into a beacon of human potential. Now they would have to defend it, not just for themselves, but for the future of human development. The ancient chamber held secrets that could elevate humanity to unimaginable heights, but only if they proved worthy of the trust being placed in them. The test was about to begin, and the stakes couldn't be higher. 15 humans against the combined might of Earth's corporate machine, with the future of 2 species hanging in the balance. Maya smiled grimly as she felt the entity's approval wash over her. They had been chosen for this moment, prepared by ancient wisdom and human determination. The real battle for Titan IX was about to commence. Asterisk. The awakening, the corporate fleet arrives. The Meridian corporate security fleet dropped out of hyperspace. With the precision of a military operation, which it essentially was. 12 vessels arranged in perfect formation, their hulls bearing the Golden Eagle insignia of Meridian Industries, the most powerful corporation in human space. At their head, the command dreadnought Profit Margin bristled with enough firepower to level the small moon. Admiral Victoria Steele stood on the bridge of her flagship, her steel-grey hair pulled back in a regulation military bun despite her corporate uniform. She had crushed 3 colonial rebellions and negotiated the surrender of the Mars independence movement. A research station operated by 15 scientists should have been a trivial assignment. Status report, she commanded, her voice carrying the authority of someone who had never been denied anything she wanted. Titan IX is maintaining standard operations, Admiral, reported her aide, Lieutenant Commander Pierce. No signs of defensive preparations or evacuation attempts. They appear to be ... ignoring us. Steele frowned. In her experience, only 2 types of people ignored overwhelming force: the completely insane and the completely confident. Given the reports of Titan IX's miraculous transformation, she suspected these scientists fell into the latter category. The ancient guardian deep within Titan IX. Maya stood before the crystalline structure that had become the heart of their community. The entity within pulsed with ancient wisdom, its consciousness vast and patient. Through their strange connection, she could feel its concern, not for itself, but for the humans it had chosen to guide. The entity's voice resonated directly in her mind, bypassing language entirely. They come seeking to take what cannot be owned, to control what must be freely given. The knowledge I offer cannot be seized by force, only accepted by those who prove themselves worthy. And if they try to take it anyway? Maya asked aloud, knowing the others could hear only her side of the conversation, but trusting them too. Understand, then they will face the same test that has broken civilizations across the galaxy. Power without wisdom, strength without compassion, technology without understanding. The chamber will defend itself, as it has always done. Around the chamber, the crew of Titan IX made their final preparations. But these weren't the desperate measures of people preparing for siege. Instead, they moved with the calm confidence of individuals who understood they were part of something greater than themselves. The first contact Admiral Steele's communication came through on all frequencies, backed by enough signal strength to reach every corner of the station. Her image appeared on screens throughout Titan IX, showing a woman accustomed to immediate obedience. This is Admiral Victoria Steele of the Meridian Corporate Security Fleet to the occupants of Titan IX Research Station. You are currently in violation of Meridian Industries Property Rights Code 847B, which clearly states that abandoned corporate assets revert to full company control upon resumption of profitable operations. Maya stepped into the station's main communication center, knowing her response would be recorded and transmitted back to corporate headquarters on Earth. Admiral Steele, this is Dr. Maya Rodriguez, current administrator of Titan IX. We dispute your claim of abandonment. This facility has been continuously operated by its research staff since Meridian's withdrawal 2 years ago. Dr. Rodriguez, CORPORATE, records show that Meridian Industries terminated all support and funding for Titan IX effective 24 months ago. Any continued operations have been conducted without corporate authorization and therefore constitute theft of company assets. Admiral, when Meridian withdrew, they classified this facility as a total loss and wrote off all assets as worthless. You can't simultaneously claim something is worthless and demand its return because it became valuable. Steele's smile was as cold as the space between stars. Doctor, I have 14 ships and enough firepower to turn your asteroid into dust. Corporate legal theory becomes somewhat irrelevant under those circumstances. The demonstration Maya felt, the ancient entity's amusement ripple through her consciousness. The being that dwelt within the crystalline chamber had witnessed this same scene play out across countless worlds, with countless species, the strong attempting to take from the weak, never understanding that true strength came from different sources entirely. Admiral, before you make any irreversible decisions, perhaps you should see what you're really trying to claim, Maya said calmly. The screens throughout both the station and the corporate fleet shifted, displaying imagery from the ancient chamber. The crystalline structure pulsed with gentle light, its branches reaching toward a ceiling that seemed to extend into infinity. The symbols on the walls flowed like living text, writing and rewriting themselves in patterns that hurt to look at. Directly, several bridge officers on the profit margin stepped back from their displays, unable to process what they were seeing. The chamber existed in more dimensions than human perception could accommodate, its geometry folding in on itself in ways that violated fundamental physics. What is that? Steele demanded, her voice showing the first crack in its confident authority. This is the heart of Titan IX, Admiral. What you're looking at is a gift left by beings who transcended physical existence before Earth formed. They left this knowledge for species mature enough to use it wisely. The question is, do you represent such a species? Asterisk, the entity speaks, the voice that suddenly filled every communication channel in the corporate fleet carried the weight of geological ages. It spoke not in words, but in concepts that bypassed language entirely, translating itself into the native tongue of every listener simultaneously. I am the last of the architects, the final guardian of knowledge accumulated across eons. For 200,000 years, I have waited for a species worthy of what I offer. I have watched civilizations rise and fall, have seen the same pattern repeat endlessly across this galaxy. On the bridge of the profit margin, several crew members collapsed, their minds unable to process direct contact with consciousness so vastly advanced. Emergency medical teams rushed to assist them, while Admiral Steele struggled to maintain her composure. The humans of this station have proven themselves. They took abandonment and created paradise. They faced scarcity and chose cooperation. They discovered power and sought wisdom. They represent what their species can become when it rises above its primitive instincts. This is some kind of trick, Steele insisted, though her voice lacked its former certainty. Psychological warfare using advanced technology, it won't work. You see tricks where there is truth, warfare where there is invitation. Your fleet carries weapons designed to destroy, but this chamber contains knowledge that could elevate your entire species beyond the need for such crude instruments. To test the ancient entity extended its consciousness outward, touching the minds of every human in the corporate fleet. Unlike its gentle contact with the Titan IX crew, this was an assessment, a deep examination of intentions and character. Asterisk. Admiral Steele felt the alien presence probe her thoughts, examining her memories, her motivations, her fundamental understanding of power and responsibility. She saw herself through the entity's perception, a capable individual shaped by a system that rewarded aggression and punished compassion, trapped in a hierarchy that valued profit over people. Throughout the fleet, corporate soldiers and officers experienced the same assessment. Most recoiled from the contact, their minds rejecting anything that challenged their worldview. But some, particularly the younger crew members, found themselves questioning everything they had been taught about strength and success. Your species stands at a crossroads, the entity continued. The knowledge I offer could end scarcity, eliminate disease, extend life indefinitely, and open the stars to exploration beyond your current imagination. But such gifts require wisdom to use properly. What's the price? Steele asked, her tactical mind immediately searching for the trap. There is no price, only a requirement. Those who would receive this knowledge must prove themselves worthy through their actions, not their words. They must demonstrate that they will use power to nurture rather than dominate, to protect rather than exploit. The choice, the crystalline structure, pulsed brighter, and suddenly the space around Titan IX filled with visions of possibility. The corporate fleet's sensors detected energy readings that defied explanation as the entity shared glimpses of what humanity could become. They saw ships that could cross the galaxy in heartbeats, powered by engines that drew energy from quantum fluctuations in space-time itself. They witnessed worlds transformed into gardens, their atmospheres sculpted by technologies that worked with natural systems rather than against them. They observed humans who had transcended physical limitations while retaining their essential humanity. exploring dimensions of existence previously unimaginable. But they also saw the alternative, civilizations that had found similar chambers and used the knowledge for conquest, eventually destroying themselves and everything around them. The wreckage of dead worlds, the silent spaces where entire species had once thrived, the cosmic graveyards of those who had chosen domination over cooperation. "The choice is yours," Admiral Maya said, her voice carrying across the communication channels with quiet authority. "You can try to take this station by force, in which case the chamber will protect itself and you'll gain nothing but casualties. Or you can prove that humanity deserves this gift." Steele stared at the tactical displays showing her overwhelming firepower advantage, then at the screens displaying the impossible chamber that violated every law of physics she understood. Her entire career had been built on the principle that superior force could overcome any obstacle. But this wasn't an obstacle. It was an opportunity that required an entirely different approach. The transformation, the decision, when it came, surprised everyone, including Steele herself. Instead of ordering an attack, she found herself asking, what would proving ourselves worthy require? The ancient entity's approval washed over both the station and the fleet like warm sunlight. Begin by seeing each other not as enemies, but as members of the same species, facing the same choice. The knowledge I offer is not meant for corporations or governments, but for all humanity. Over the following days, something unprecedented happened. Corporate security officers found themselves working alongside the Titanine research team, learning about systems they had come to destroy. The entity shared its knowledge gradually, teaching not just technologies but the philosophical frameworks necessary to use them responsibly. Admiral Steele discovered that true command meant service rather than domination, that real strength came from empowering others rather than controlling them. Her fleet became the first to benefit from the entities, gifts, propulsion systems that eliminated the need for traditional fuel, medical technologies that could heal injuries thought permanent, communication systems that connected minds across impossible distances, new horizons seized. Months after the corporate fleet had arrived with orders to seize Titan IX, the station had become something unprecedented in human history, a true partnership between corporate resources and scientific vision, all guided by ancient wisdom that valued progress over profit. The entity's knowledge spread gradually throughout human space, shared freely with any group that demonstrated the maturity to use it properly. Wars began ending not through conquest, but through the simple recognition that conflict was obsolete when scarcity no longer existed. Maya stood in the ancient chamber, watching new, crystalline growths extend from the original structure. The entity was preparing to divide itself, to create new guardians for the growing number of chambers humanity was building throughout their territory. "You have exceeded my expectations," it told her. "Your species has the capacity for wisdom I have not seen in eons. The knowledge I offer is no longer mine alone, but ours together." Torres approached, no longer bearing the rigid posture of military authority, but moving with the relaxed confidence of someone who had found their true purpose. "The first of the new stations is ready. 3 more species have requested contact, wanting to understand what happened to humanity." "What do we tell them?" Maya asked. The entity's amusement rippled through the chamber. "Tell them the truth, that a species thought worthless by their own elite proved themselves worthy of gifts beyond imagination. That humans faced with abandonment chose to build paradise, and when tested, chose wisdom over power." Maya smiled, looking out at the stars that no longer seemed distant and cold, but warm and inviting. Humanity had passed its greatest test, not through conquest or dominance, but through the simple recognition that true strength came from lifting others up rather than keeping them down. The ancient chamber pulsed with satisfied light, its guardians, long vigil finally bearing fruit. After 200,000 years of waiting, the knowledge of the architects had found a species worthy of carrying it forward into an uncertain but promising future. Asterisk.